The only thing that you got is right now. So once you clean this up to a high level, then you can start visioning and projecting and materializing what you want that's more valuable and way healthier for you. The words integration and relationships didn't really set in to my system until many years away from actually like partaking and ingesting psychoactive substances. Hey, all it takes is some time and some presence with yourself and with nature, and that's how things really shift, and that's how you really awaken.
Welcome to the Occult Healing Podcast. Daniel is the founder of Whole Sky Healing. How are you today?
Hey, Melanie, I'm doing great. How are you?
Super happy to have you on the show and dive into your amazing modality that I have been able to receive. I'm super excited to go into
Hey,
this.
me too. And I'm glad you received it. It was so nice having you over, and I'm glad you enjoyed. You can speak more about it, and I will share more about it too.
Yeah, so let's start kind of with your origin story. I was just poking around on your website just before the interview because I mean, I knew you, so I didn't really look at your website before, not too much, but there was this picture of you, the before and after. So can you kind of explain like your past and what led you on this path of healing and to your modality?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you. I'm glad you saw that somewhat shocking photo. It's interesting when I look back at that too and see just the capability of transformation, right? At a certain point, later 20s, early 30s, there was a moment of, okay, I got to shift something drastically, and if I don't, then I'm probably not going to stay alive. That was sort of my, you know, come to, if you will, what happened. And so, yeah, I would say a lot of intoxication on many levels, overdoing it, a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs. I guess a lot of just like overconsumption of everything, like me, my. What can I just feed myself, take in, and not give much out, and not take care of myself. So I think we all realize at a certain point that we kind of lose somewhat of a resilience when we keep at a certain pattern that's unhealthy, especially like through your 20s. There was a certain point for me, like right after 30, where I was like, why do I feel hungover for 4 days when it used to just be like maybe half a day, you know? So those are the moments of like, all right, I gotta shift something here. I started on the path wanting to heal. I didn't really know what I had to heal. I just know that like it was something that had to be healed, if that makes sense. And I started with martial arts, and that helped me tremendously get in shape. I lost a lot of weight. As you can see in the photo, I probably weighed in that photo probably like 225 pounds. And I'm 5'10". I wasn't very healthy at all. But within the span of about a year, I got in shape. I started feeling better. Um, work picked up. Just started getting things in order. But early 30s, 30 to about 34, that was an interesting period of transformation, just realization for me. And what ended up happening was I started my work with ayahuasca. That was my first intro to a deeper sense of clearing, purging, letting go of, detoxification, um, and my first introduction to working with a plant teacher, which I didn't really know what that was. I had some experience with psychedelics, just in more of like a let's have fun setting, but it wasn't ever connected to any intention. And I remember the shaman who I drank with the first time, and I remember his face. It was very interesting. He just kind of smiled and like filled the cup all the way to the top, and was like, it was like this look like adios, like. And I walked back, crawled back to my space, and I remember just sitting in silence, already getting uncomfortable sitting in silence for about 20 minutes, and someone began to play a singing bowl. And I don't know what happened in that moment, but like I got on all fours and like my back just like arched. It felt like it arched like 90 degrees. And I swear, all I could see was a woman that looked like a snake walk right up to me and stare into my eyes. And I was just like, "Oh, what the ah!" And I just like ran out of the Maloko we were in. It's raining outside. My socks are soggy. Finally, I get, someone came to get me and usher me back to my seat. But that was day one of 92 sessions with grandmother. In the span of about 3.5 years. And
My goodness.
yeah, so as you can imagine, as you've partaken in that sacred medicine, you know what that entails, and I feel like I went on somewhat of a lightning path with that medicine. She taught me a lot, and then at the end, she was like, "You're done here. Get out of here." And what I realized what was happening was that I was becoming addicted to ayahuasca, and she told me that. She said, "You're not you're not at the bar or sniff and blow with your friends every weekend, but you're in an ayahuasca ceremony every weekend. So look at that, huh?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, time to chill." And I remember, I mean, there was a lot to clean up, right? I did 5 diets, 5 proper dietas in Peru, during that time. So those were like, concentrated chunks of like sitting, being alone, working with master teacher plants. Yeah, those two main points, I'll refer back to those, like sitting and being alone, being comfortable with being alone and being quiet, with just being. Those are some major, you know, uploads that I got towards I would say started happening about halfway through my work with the medicine. Um, but I remember that she started showing me a lot about my hands. And I'm like, okay, what does this mean? Like looking at my hands in ceremony, and I started getting these messages, whatever you want to call them, right? Uploads, downloads, all around those, whatever they are. And and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm meant to put my hands on people to help them heal. And I started realizing this, I would say into about year two of working with the medicine. And so when that door finally closed, when she was like, "That's it, you're done," it was like a wildfire started. I immediately, when I made the conscious decision to stop drinking medicine, that's when it all opened up. It was like, go take this training in Thailand. I met these teachers. I met another set of teachers. I moved back to New York. I met Master Rolfer who took me in as an apprentice. I met a master tendon and ligament worker who took me under as his apprentice. So all these teachers just started showing up. Um, but I had to close that door of that chapter, if you will, if that makes sense. Since then, I've been putting it together, and I would say, it took a good 3 years of integration and really, walking the walk, and show and setting an example for my family, for my friend groups, for peers, for people I would just meet. Like I had this new certain glow around me where people would ask me questions like, "Hey, what are you up to?" Like you look shiny, you look different, you look happy. And then also friends from the past who knew who I was 10 years prior, they were asking me questions. They said, "Well, how did you do this? How did you pull this off? How did you pull this off? I would never have expected you to clean up your act and sober up, uh, look healthy, get fit." And so that was my message from the higher source, was like, okay, now you have to start teaching others about this and teaching others how to sober up, what worked for you that could be helpful for them. Um, each one teach one, as that old saying goes. So that's the basic origin of my transformation, coming out of a deep dark space. I like to call it like these empty dark warehouses that I kept opening and accessing, that were like very shadowy, a lot of space because there's a lot of like shadow stuff going on, a lot of dark stuff going on. But when I finally rewired the electricity and I was able to turn on the lights, I was like, wow, there's like all this space now that I can like learn in and train in and play in. And so that's where I'm at. I would say one of the things I always say to my clients is like, we all must learn how to continually keep making space in and around ourselves, because change is the name of the game. It's the language of the universe. It's all about transformation all the time. So how do we get better at being these master space creators inside and outside of our lives? So that comes with body work, energy healing work, sound healing work, personal growth and development stuff, emotional intelligence stuff. It's there's so many layers to this. I call it the human technology. There's like physical and metaphysical parts that require tending to, require looking at.
I'm curious, like, who were you? Who was Daniel? What did you do for work? Like, where did you live? Like, who were you back then?
I pulled it off to a certain degree. I graduated from San Diego State University, applied arts and sciences art department. So I got, a proper degree. I got into woodworking out of school. That was like my emphasis in studio furniture making. So I've always been an art painter and a designer, but I also became very um, formed in graffiti culture. So that was a big part of my earlier days of, after high school, moving to the Bay Area, um, art communities that were very awesome and creative, but also very carrying a lot of toxicity in that, like staying out all night and partying and doing graffiti and yeah, just kind of just running amok. That's who I was most.
You said that you don't really know, or like you just knew you needed to heal. Is it really just the alcohol? You felt like crap for the most part, physical, or was there something deeper calling you?
Well, I'm sure there's always something deeper calling you on like the deep depths of the subconscious, right? That knows, and again, like where are the blocks, where are the blind spots, but for me, yes, it was like waking up, um having overdosed and realizing that I'm not dead a few times were the big ones for me. Like having like blackouts, terrible blackouts, like multiple times where I'm like, oh my God, I'm still alive, or like waking up somewhere where I didn't remember how I got to in the first place. Um, but I think the overdose ones were definitely like, wow, something's on my side here. You're rooting for me to stay alive, and I had to listen to that. I always mention this book because it was Cosmic Serpent by Jeremy Narby, and I read that I think in like 2000, and that was my first like intro to ayahuasca and like the Peruvian Amazon, and this type of shamanism. And funny enough, after I think at the airport after my first dieta, I look over and look who it is. It's Jeremy Narby, the author, like at the same airport.
Oh,
And I'm like, whoa, okay, this is weird, right? This is like how things, I guess, if things start stepping up.
yes.
Um, so I had known about plant medicine and, the healing magnificence of psychoactive teachers. The words integration and relationships didn't really set in to my system until many years away from actually like partaking and ingesting psychoactive substances. So yeah, we can speak more about that, but I think those are two main points I'd like to just say. Like I think it's really about sitting and settling, and it's that long burn, that longer, just like wait up, just work on your groundedness, your stillness, your rest. Yeah.
When you said you were addicted to ayahuasca, which part of it? Because the ceremony itself isn't necessarily that fun. Or like what part of it do you feel like you were addicted
Well,
to?
I would say it would be more like the community aspect of it, and like the after effects, right? Like that post ceremony, everybody's in the kitchen like at 2 in the morning making chicken soup or like sourdough toast, So there's that energy, I would say, like, hey, this is like all these people, I can really relate to these people because we're all the same frequency, obviously, right? We're all just like coming out of a medicine ceremony. Um, but it was about the partaking in, I think, the really just like the I'm gonna take something to shift my consciousness, and I was doing that with other drugs too. This is what she was showing me. Like, oh, you sniff a line of coke, you're gonna change your state of consciousness. You're gonna take this pill, you're gonna change your state of consciousness. Right? So for me, it was about just sitting still, learning how to breathe, learning how to meditate, learning how to, access these higher states of being by just being. It's really like allowing yourself to be. I think what the bigger lessons were that she was trying to teach me. So I would say like because I had addictive tendencies, I'm never going to identify as an addict. I don't believe that. I believe that we all get to shift, we all get to change whenever we want. So, but I would say that I've had addictive tendencies. I still notice it now with certain things. There's a certain food that I like or sugar. There's all types of stuff. And especially working with people, I've noticed this same thing with it takes many different forms. Why does someone have an urge to go eat Oreo cookies every night at 2 in the morning? Or why does this person have the urge to vape nervously while they're driving? There's a similarity to it. And it really has to do with blocking, numbing, avoiding. There's like, there's some similarities that are more than just putting them in a box of like, you're an addict. There's a lot of different nuances and subtleties to it. Um,
Yeah. I want to move into your medicine. So, got your origin story, and you started, it sounded like the sound bowls might have been something that was really meaningful in your journey. And then you started studying, like what guided you to the Rolfing guy, and then like how did your path come out? And then eventually I want to talk about what your medicine for the world is.
Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting you point that out. Like it was definitely that first sound bowl that sort of activated me into the medicine space. And then, at the end when I started finding my teachers, it was like, okay, well, I know that I have to put my hands on people to help them heal. And then I started remembering, oh yeah, I've always been this person. Since I was young, I'd always get called on by my sister, my grandma, my aunt, like, Jenny has a stomach ache. Danny, come here. And I'd be like, I walk right over and I know exactly where it was at. And I remember just being like, what am I doing? And like put my hand on someone's stomach and feeling like a knot of energy and being able to sort of extract it and like move it out. And like, oh my God, I feel better now. What'd you do? I'm like, I don't know. So like I do recall stories of that since a young kid. So again, okay, I realized I gotta work with my hands. So what do I do? All right, let's see what happens. Let's spin the wheel here and see where it lands. But it was okay. I found a really awesome training in Thailand, Alchemy of Touch. Amazing teachers, Tapesh and Anouk. So their modality is focused primarily in rebalancing style from India. And then Tapesh was like part of, the 80s in India, ashram stuff. So like he's meeting all these different body workers. They're coming together, exchanging styles. So he put together his style, which he calls alchemy of touch. It's a mixture of rebalancing from India, polarity balancing, myofascia, deep tissue stuff, some Thai yoga stretching in there. So that was my intro to bodywork stuff. Followed them around for a few years, and then moved to New York City and I started getting, again, it's like how do you meet these people, right? It's like you get guided somehow divinely, and I met Don, who's a master rolfer. He's not here with us anymore in the physical, but he was one of Ida Rolf's top students, and he was a ballerino in New York City Ballet. So his company, his dance company, always getting injured. That's what led him to figure out how to help people's bodies. So yeah, he taught me what he considered sort of the evolution of Rolfing, which actually is funny enough, he used to call it anti-Rolfing. And he'd always say like, I'm teaching you anti-Rolfing and this is collagen sculpting. Okay. It's like, so all these different terms and things that people probably haven't heard of. But he really he really input and gave me something to upload that I carry till this day. And I've been working on the foundations that he taught me. And then I met Camilo after he passed. Almost immediately after that, I met another teacher, a guy from Barbados, Camilo Brooks. And yeah, he started showing me so much with the tendons and the ligaments, and how to release them, for maximum growth and upgrading in the physical body, help people let go of their trapped emotions. Shortly after that, another big thing that happened in the jungle, were a lot of these medicine songs that were helping me heal. These Icaros, primarily in the mestizo tradition from the upper Ucayali River Basin. And I'm like, I would just start hearing these, like, these rhythms, these cadences, these like rattles, and then these words started coming, like, and then I hear the shamans talk about, like, hey, well, the plants eventually are going to start teaching you the songs. I'm like, what does that mean? It finally started happening to me. I was never, I would say, into playing music, before my journeys into the Amazon jungle. But when I came out of there, I'm playing music, I'm singing, I'm drumming, I'm rattling, I'm playing the charango, I'm playing the flute, like all these things just very quick upload into my system. And I did some training at Sage Academy of Sound Energy Healing, upstate New York. And so, yeah, the things that started happening to me or that were shown to me in the medicine ceremonies, I started training in them to refine them and get better at transmitting them. So that's what I'm up to these days. It's a mixture of those things and others.
Yeah, that's definitely, there's all the things you
Mm.
experienced in this session. It was super cool. I love when you started singing the Ikaros, and then of course all the fun instruments. The wind one is one of my
Oh, I
faves.
love that one too.
It's so like laying there, and it's just like a surprise. What's happening next? Like it was awesome. So what's the best way to explain? Like if someone were coming to you, you're a practitioner, like what do you do? Like how do you explain what you do?
It's a mixture of body energy and sound frequency healing work that I do. But I like to listen. I like to be present. Um, I like to have a conversation. In the first few minutes, people usually show me where there's a blockage because there's a level of safety that I transmit. And again, it's like we have to interface to feel that trust and that safety activate, if you will. And so once that activates, it's almost like, so I ask a question like, so what's up? What's going on? Like, how are you feeling? Or why'd you come in to see me? And it's almost like oh, they start talking to me and pointing at something on their shoulder, and they're not even knowing that they're doing it. So I like to sit and be present and just see and feel where I can help somebody. And the work is intuitive, and there's also structure to it, in that the way that my teachers have taught me.
And then you have another calling, we'll say, the weather worker side of you.
Ah,
Do you mind sharing about that?
I think can. Well, this is funny. It's all woven together, as you know, divinely. I uh, I got struck by lightning twice, and I never really knew what that meant. I was just like, I got struck by lightning twice. Big deal. It wasn't until actually 14 years after the second strike. First time was in 2000, the second time was in 2002. And it was actually a ceremony that I was in towards the tail end of my work with ayahuasca. And it was just this big remembrance of the lightning strikes, and something else was calling me, and I didn't know what that was until I shared that story about some of the visions I had in that ceremony, and the remembrance of, like, oh my God, I got struck by lightning. It's kind of like important. It wasn't until it took me 14 years to realize it was important, or whatever, right? Reactivated my system, and I got invited to weather ceremonies in Tepoztlan, Mexico. Okay, what are weather ceremonies? I don't even know what this is. And I go in and I met a bunch of people that had been struck by lightning. I'm like, Oh, you've been struck by lightning? Wow. I guess I've been struck by lightning. Like maybe that's why I'm here. Um, but I would say that that commitment that I ended up eventually taking it was a longer process to know if like, hey, if this is the right path for me. It's it's a granistero is the title of what I became initiated as, and that means granger in English. So one who works with the hail and the storm. So I for the last 7 years, I've been building a relationship with the weather, if that makes sense. So it's making certain offerings, speaking to the weather, mitigating is one of the best words I could use. So if a very dangerous storm shows up, I can show up for my community and mitigate with the storm to be like, hey, I'm here to keep my community safe. Let's just move along without any destruction, things of this nature. It's not like I'm like rain now or anything like that. I think the key word to it is the relationship building, and also building an awareness with my community and everybody that we actually are our sonars and our intentions are very powerful in our prayers. So the more people that hear me now and listen to this, we can start doing things like making special offerings and just being like, hey, thanks for the beautiful sunshine you're giving me today, or thanks for the clear blue sky that I can see today, and that starts to build a relationship. There's an excitement, there's a connection that starts happening. And so I think that's what it's going to take to really help shape things up in a good way. So that's part of my bigger work here.
You're a full-time healer. That's what you
Right.
do, right?
Hmm.
What point did you go from you were an artist? I'm not sure what your work was back then to like creating this modality and building up your business as a practitioner.
It's interesting. I've always been an artist. I think that I forgot that there became some like gaps and bridges between the two that I had to go out and train and do certain things. But visual arts and healing arts are always side by side with me, and that's me. I'm together with them. And like I said, I was, out of college, I was working in design shops and wood and metal fabrication shops. So I've always been in the zone of, artistry and design. Um, and it wasn't until my self-healing journey that it was like those messages were very clear. Like, no, now it's time to like show this to others and help others in their healing process. It's all been moving and grooving, I guess, in a way it has been.
I also know you as a sound healer, doing sound baths, or can you talk about that? Like the sound healing part, is that a big part of what you do, or just kind of once in a while?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
I know you do it.
it's like people call on me for different events and different types of healing. And I'm still building my repertoire. I'm still loading my tool belt with other traditional healing modalities. Those are the ones that interest me more at the moment. Learning how to work uh, with non-psychoactive plants that are just like around us, and the healing properties that we can use and also exchange with, building relationships with these teachers. Here in Austin, I like doing private sound baths. I like to do community sound baths periodically. I think you've been to a couple of them. And so it's people, whatever I'm being called out for, I'd love to make myself available for it. Sound healing is a big part of it too.
So, on your journey as a practitioner, what are some of the hurdles or like things you've come across, like the challenges, or is it just kind of part of the deal?
I would say, yeah, it's part of the deal. Definitely, I love the I love the doing part for sure. I love the practice. Um,
Mhm.
as of recently, it's been more of the administrative organization that that I've had to open myself up to sitting down and being patient with. But it's all learning. It's all about organization and learning. So I'd say that I would consider those some of the hurdles in the last few years of like upgrading to the next levels of like, all right, I want to reach a greater audience. I want to make a bigger impact. All right. So what do we have available? We have social media, we have website, we have Google business page, and all these things that we all have to use, right? Where this is our current reality. Um, so yeah, getting better at those things at the moment. Every year feels like a very important notch, if you will, where it's like I've been able to hold this force in this healthy manner now, and but I also have this knowing of those frequencies from the past. And this could be something this person is still stuck in. So like, yeah, I have a know-how of like guiding them out of that. And that feels good to be able to give that to somebody else.
I imagine with your work, I mean, I can't imagine it. I know it because we've talked about it, but how do you protect yourself or recharge your batteries? Because I know you give a lot in sessions energetically.
Great question. This comes up a lot. For me, physical exercise is very important. Sweating outside in the sun. Uh, Lucky enough to be here in Austin, Texas, where we have this beautiful spring. So I would say those things are on my route, my daily route, especially when I'm working with people through the week. So cinching up your center line, your belt line, your hara area, and like holding that force is a powerful way to protect yourself from other people's energies, especially if you're a practitioner.
Do you kind of limit how many hours a day you work, or are you pretty tight with your schedule, or are you able to do quite a few hours a day?
I like to see 7 to 10 people a week. I don't think that's too over the top. And I mean, again, it's all about organization. Right now I'm painting a lot, so like focusing my mornings at the art studio, my afternoons seeing people. That seems to be working out. And then jujitsu. Jujitsu, I guess I would say that's another big part of how I keep top level. Yeah.
Awesome. So for the listeners, maybe they're new to the healing journey. Besides coming to see you, which you're in Austin, so that might not be for everyone, but what are some tools that you recommend people start with if they're just getting started on this healing journey?
Yeah, I would say it's usually the nervous system that has to get addressed first. Some really easy tools that you can do anytime. There's an asana that's the best. It's just simply legs up the wall. Just look that up. You just sit back and your head is here and your legs go vertical up the wall, 90 degrees, and you just hold that for 5 to 10 minutes before you go to bed, and that's going to start resetting you on a cellular level. It's going to help your nervous system calm down so that you can start making space for more of what you're going to be putting in that's going to be helpful for you. First, start letting go, detoxing, and making space. And that's going to be tremendously helpful on your healing journey.
So it's like physical space, but also like, is it mental space or emotional space, or are you more physical?
I would say on any level that you can access. So, again, the legs up the wall just is it's gonna help you breathe better. It's gonna help your blood flow better. It's gonna help start moving things around, and you're gonna start letting go of things naturally. It just works like that. I think that all those things you just mentioned like work in tandem all the time. So not to try to like figure out what's what, but just think of it in terms of spaciousness. Where can I add spaciousness to my life? And I think, everybody's healing journey is different. It's very unique to each individual. So I don't want to say like everybody do this format because it's not going to work for everybody in the same way. But that's one, any type of sitting practices, just sitting still and breathing, listening to your heartbeat without thinking about trying to fix something or do something or what's coming next or what happened in the past over there. It's over. Guess what, everybody? Doesn't exist anymore. And the future doesn't exist yet. The only thing that you got is right now. So once you clean this up to a high level, then you can start visioning and projecting and materializing what you want that's more valuable and way healthier for you.
on the bigger scale of healing and awakening and this human path we're on, what do you see as the future, near future or far? Like what are you thinking about now as far as like awakening and healing and where this humanity is?
I would say all it takes is getting very close to nature that's always around us all the time, showing us and teaching us. And those are some of the big epiphanies that happened to me in the Amazon, but just even now, making space to take a walk without my phone, making space to just go sit in the sun for however long. If you have to put it on the timer, so be it, but just giving yourself time to receive the bounty from nature, I think that that is going to be the big awakening for people when they realize that, like, hey, all I have to do is like connect to this magnificence that's around me, and it starts automatically just sort of defragging your system of all the input, all the distractions, all the distortions. And so that's what I'm rooting for, everybody, because we're all in this together and we all have the ability to shape it together. That's the thing. When we all get stuck in certain tracks of thinking or worry or fear, then all of a sudden that is going to materialize in the world. So I'm here to show people otherwise that, like, hey, all it takes is some time and some presence with yourself and with nature, and that's how things really shift, and that's how you really awaken.
Yeah, definitely simplifying and slowing
Mhm.
down so you can hear. You have the space for those downloads, uploads, or all around loads. Or what did you
All
call
around loads.
it? Whatever you said at the
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah, it's very beautiful. What am I not asking you that I should be asking you that's specific to what you do?
Wow. Let's see. You covered some good bases. I would say the two things I'm really excited about are, the visual art transmissions that are coming through, but then also I do group programs. So I started an online school, Frequency Foundations. It's a mastermind mystery school, and it's more on the supernatural, paranormal. And I put it in quotes because it's actually paranormal is actually very normal. And so once you get to a certain level of your natural essence is back online, once you get to that, like, wow, I finally put in the reps of like receiving the sunshine for a few months, and receiving the spring water with intention, and things of this, you start to notice big differences. You start to notice, astral travel. You start to notice your dreams are more active and you're working with them. So I call it frequency foundations, because I like to help people set the bar to higher frequencies so that their world starts shaping up in this very supernatural way. So that's a online school that I have going on. That's the new thing I got. So that's the only thing I wanted to
Cool.
mention there. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And your website is wholeskyhealing.com.
WholeSkyHealingArts.com.
Healing Arts. Oh, wholeskyhealingarts.com. And I think those are under classes for when I was looking, I think there's a classes section and I did see
Yep.
those. You have like two different classes
It
in
should
there.
be there. Yeah.
And then if people are local to Austin, they can come and see you, but you also do some virtual healing as
I
well.
do.
What are
Yeah, I
those
love I
ones?
love doing sound healing or one-on-one counsel on Zoom. And again, it's everybody's unique in their healing process. So, definitely have a conversation, and see what opens up, see how I can help you. I think that's the best place to start. Anybody suffering from, substance abuse, that's something that I've, gratefully and appreciatively transformed, and I get to be here, to show others some helpful tools that help me transform out of that. And yeah, just start living a more valuable, enthusiastic, uh, stoked on life.
Yeah. I only know you as Happy Healed Daniel. So yeah, that picture on your website just shocked me, but I'm glad I got to hear more of your story and your background. makes me appreciate the man you are more, the healer you are today.
Oh, thank you, Melanie. Oh, I'm glad you got to see it at the last minute. I'm glad it was shocking. It's still shocking to me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, whoa. Were you in your 20s in
Yeah,
that
I was in my
picture?
20s. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. And you're a brother of mine here in Austin. So glad you said yes. And I'll see you
Sounds good,
around.
Melanie. See you around. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.